How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another video. So today I'm actually going to be talking about something that quite a few of you guys have actually asked me on how you would go about doing it, and that is going to be making money, but pre-PvM. Now, a lot of you want to get into PvM, but you don't have the money to get the gear, and you're not really sure on how to go about making the money along the way. So since I've been streaming quite a lot lately, I've had the question pop up quite a few times, and it's been in the comments of my videos as well. How do I make the money to invest in PvM gear so I can make even better money? So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be talking about how I would suggest you go about doing it, and I'm not just going to list you like 10 methods that you can go and make some money, like 3 mil an hour or something stupid like that. I'm not going to be, this is not like a full-on step-by-step money making guide. I'm going to be giving you a pretty steady, consistent guide that will probably last longer than just a couple of months for you to be able to get your account ready for PvM. For one, I'm going to be assuming that you guys are maybe around about 60-70 base stats, and then build up from there, so you can insert yourself in the video wherever you feel fit. But I'm going to be doing that and giving you ideas that you can go ahead and work towards, and not just go and stand at the Grand Exchange and cook granite for like 50 hours until you've got enough for Ascensions or something stupid like that. You could go ahead and do that, but I really don't recommend it. It doesn't give you anything in return. It's a massive waste of time when you could be making money elsewhere. So that's what we're going to be doing today. My main goal during this video is to make the path from where you are now to getting into PvM not boring and not repetitive, and it should be all sort of efficient to do. It shouldn't be something that you stood around at the Grand Exchange cutting stuff or processing stuff. Processing is boring as hell. You guys all don't want to do that. You can do it on mobile maybe one day, like here and there, just if you just fancy AFKing, then hell yes, go and do it. But I don't want you guys to be thinking that RuneScape at beginning game is basically just stand at the Grand Exchange, make a bit of cash, and then AFK everything else, because it's not. But if this video sounds like something that will be useful to you, if you think you will enjoy the video, then make sure to leave a like on it. And if you are new to the channel, do subscribe as well. So we spent 2 minutes on the intro. It's not too bad considering how big of a thing it's going to be, but let's get into it. Alright, so like I said, I'm going to be assuming that you guys are around about base 60 or 70 stats, at least in one combat style, and that's pretty much all we're going to assume. We're not going to assume that you've got a base 60 in everything, because a lot of you guys just want to PvM, you're not bothered about all the other skills, which eventually will be worth you guys doing, absolutely, and it will probably be something that I mention as well while we go through this, but we'll just start with that. You've got at least one combat style around about 60 or 70, and you've got some basic gear which will be matching your level. That stuff's not hard to get. It's really cheap, the low level gear, as I'm considering stuff like if you've got range, then I'm assuming you've got like some rune crossbows and some royal dragon hide, or you've got like the really cheap stuff, nothing like armadillo or anything from God Wars 1. This is all going to be basically the cheap absolute rubbish that you can find or craft yourself very easily. So if you have this, then you are actually in a pretty decent position to start building towards PvM. Now guys, this will not be an overnight thing. You will not just one day like wake up in 3 or 4 days after doing a little bit of work and be like, yep, I now have absolute ton of good gear and I am ready to go and kill off Telos. Nope, not going to happen. But there is stuff along the way, and there is stepping stones, and it will be a good journey. So that is what this video is going to be about, basically. We don't want you guys to get bored. We don't want you to just grind towards the end game boss, but we will get you there, and it will be a good journey. I promise you that. Okay, so basically, you are at about 60 or 70 combat stats. We're going to say 70. We're going to say you've got 70 combat stats, but you don't have anything like Armadillo. What I would suggest doing is, one, starting off with Slayer. Slayer, if you haven't leveled it so far, is probably going to be your best income method at this point, while giving your account the necessary boost that it needs. The reason I say this is, as you do Slayer, you're going to be getting good drops, you're going to be getting a good amount of money saved up, but not only that, you're going to be killing stuff off. You're going to be killing off different monsters, and you're going to be leveling up your combat stats. Each monster that you kill is probably going to require you to use a different combat stat here and there. Not a lot, you can probably kill most of them with just the one that you've leveled, but if you haven't, then doing this with Slayer will allow you to level up all your other combat stats as well, and it'll give you a well-rounded off account. Now, bosses throughout the game don't just require one combat style. A lot of them are able to just be used with anything. You can walk in with range and probably kill most of the bosses in the game. However, it's recommended that some you will use melee, some magic, some range. It will just be all split out. Especially if you're learning, then there'll be definitely combat styles that are easier than others. So leveling up all of these is going to be absolutely helpful. Like, it's definitely something you should do. So Slayer is 100% probably my base recommendation. Do Slayer. Get that money, get the drops. The drops from Slayer monsters at lower levels aren't absolutely amazing, but they do add up, and once you get a higher Slayer level, you are going to be raking in the money. Honestly, definitely worth doing. Now, we've spoken about Slayer for quite a while, but the absolute best thing about it is you will not just be doing the same thing over and over again. You'll be getting your task, killing off these monsters, going back, getting another task, killing off different monsters. You will learn about the game, you will learn about locations of different places, you'll be all over the map, traveling to this place, going in caves that you probably never would have bothered going in before, so it is definitely worth doing. And honestly, once you upgrade your Slayer helmet and stuff like that, you will be using that later on. If you get a Cal Fight task when you are a higher level player, you will probably want to solo KK, and you will use that helmet for that massive damage boost that you get out of it. You can make a ton of money doing that as well. Slayer at high-end game is absolutely crazy, so definitely do this along your way. Alright, so now that you guys know how good Slayer is, and you'll probably be doing that as quite a main focus of your early game if you are just focused purely on PvM, but you also are going to need other things as well. You're going to need your Herblore, you're going to need your Prayer. All of this is ridiculously expensive, and Slayer alone is not going to fund it. Now, not only that, you're going to need some quests done, you're going to need to get on some unlocks, and you're going to need better gear, so it's definitely all going to have a lot of requirements along the way. Now, having a well-rounded account is really important. I mentioned before that some of you guys may just want to do PvM and you're thinking, yep, get my combat skills up, get my prayer up, let's go, that's all I need to do. Unfortunately, you are going to have to work towards having your other skills leveled up as well, because some quests will have those skills requirements, and trust me when I say this, there will be plenty of quests that you do need to get done to be efficient at PvM. But that's okay, don't get scared off by that. Quests aren't that bad once you actually get into them and start doing them. I don't like quests, but when you actually get going, it's really not that bad, and the rewards you get are 100% worth it. So, what I would suggest doing is figuring out which skills will be profitable for you to do along the way, and this will help you make your money to invest in the non-profitable skills. Now, don't do those yet, we'll talk about that after this one, but basically focus on those skills that will make you money. I believe fletching makes you money, I believe things like runecrafting makes you an absolute ton of money, things like mining, all of the raw material sort of skills, so like woodcutting, mining, farming, you should absolutely get into those. Farming is brilliant. If you aren't doing farm runs along your way, every now and again, all you do is run around, pick up all your herbs, store them in your bank, and hell, that makes a ton of money as well. So definitely get into farming and focus on these skills that are going to make you some money. When you're not doing Slayer, when you're not sort of working on quests or leveling up your combat stats, you want to be doing these skills that are making you a profit. Now, they won't make you a absolute ton of money, but you will need them for requirements. Like I say, Prifdanis is pretty much like a base 80 level account, so you're going to need a lot of skills around about level 80, and you will definitely use these skills throughout the future as well. So turn a profit while leveling up your account, it will progress you through it, you will need them later, and any of that profit you make can be then invested into the other skills that you may want to level up, like your Herblore, like your summoning, all of that good stuff. But do just keep in mind, while you are doing this, some of the money that you will be making per hour on some of these skills will seem less than the methods that I said where you're stood at the Grand Exchange just processing stuff, but that's fine. You're going to need these levels at some point anyway, so you might as well get them done along the way while you're making money as well. Don't stress about it, you absolutely will need these skills, so just get them leveled, make the money along the way, and then use that money to invest in other things as well. But like I say, if you ever do have that hour spare where you're not doing anything, and you can just jump on mobile and do some of those processing methods at the Grand Exchange, which to be honest, everything's on the wiki, I'm not going to tell you what those are, just go on the wiki and search money making guide. Those are absolutely worth doing as long as they do work. But yeah, it's just not fun. So definitely focus on your skills, get your account progressed, and when it comes to doing those quests and getting the unlocks, you will absolutely thank me later. Alright, so once you have got your account into Slayer, you're making some money that way, you're leveling up your combat stats. You're getting a nice well-rounded account through combat, and you've probably picked up a few gear upgrades at this point as well, but we're not going to say anything too specifically great, we're just going to say you've maybe picked up a little bit here and there. Also, of course, you took my advice on leveling your non-combat skills along the way as well, the ones that turn a profit, and your account is probably looking nice and kind of getting well-rounded now. You've got a few things here and there, you've got your foot in the door through farming, you're making money daily through that, and it's going absolutely great. What is your next step to getting into PvM? Well, what I suggest you do at this point is start working towards God Wars Dungeon 1. Now, God Wars 1 is actually fairly easy to do. You won't need much requirements, probably just some Barrow's armor and like a Masuda's War Spear to get into Bandos. It really won't be that difficult for you to do. But working towards it, if you don't have the gear for it, get yourself 2 Barrows brothers, get yourself through those freaking pits and get the gear for yourself. It's absolutely worth doing, and you could get one of those 30 odd mil amulet drops as well. that will give you the massive boost that you need. But even without that, you could definitely still be making a really good amount of money doing barrows as well. And also any of the armor drops that you get, if you haven't got that armor already, or if you haven't got better than that, then that's an upgrade for you too. But get yourself ready for God Wars 1. The gear requirements really aren't that high. You'll be absolutely fine with some basic weapons and some basic armor, and then go through. You don't have to be there for the full hour. You don't have to be the most efficient person ever. You are PvMing, you are getting some money, and you are enjoying yourself as well. So I recommend working towards God Wars 1. You'll get a little bit of practice with using your abilities and stuff, and then when you do actually get those drops, which will happen, it will happen, don't worry, keep at it, you'll get those drops. They will be upgraded straight away. If you are, say, doing Kriara in Carols, you get yourself a nice Armadillo chest plate drop, chuck that on, then you need to get yourself a nice Armadillo chain skirt drop, chuck that on as well. There's your upgrades. You don't even have to buy it. Of course, you've got them, you've worked for it, but there you go. You're already upgraded, and then any future drops, you just sell them off and then buy yourself anything else that you need to upgrade as well. So I highly recommend working towards God Wars 1. It'll get your foot in the door with PvM. You'll be able to practice using your rotations while making money. But then, of course, you still have other steps to do before you get in towards the other stuff. So let's talk about what you should do next. Now that you're getting in a bit of money, you're earning some money through God Wars 1. You're getting some drops here. You still got your farming income coming in. You've probably got other income coming in from other ways as well. Your Slayer, I recommend you keep doing Slayer. Don't drop Slayer. Keep it all the way to the end. It's going to be absolutely awesome to do, and it'll make you a lot of money. But what do you do now that you have some money? What do you do with the GP that you have saved up, and when do you spend it, and how do you spend it? Well, that's what we're going to talk about now. Okay, so we're focused on getting through Slayer and sticking with that pretty much all the way until you start doing PvM, and even afterwards, to be honest. Slayer at an endgame is still absolutely awesome, even better in fact. We've talked about doing your life skills and your non-combat skills that are basically profitable, and getting those up and getting a well-rounded account. Make sure you continue on doing things like farming. It's going to make you a lot of money passively. And of course, whenever you're not doing Slayer, whenever you're not doing some God Wars Dungeon 1 and PvM, all that stuff, then go ahead and do some AFK skills like maybe mining or anything that's gathering and stuff like that, that's going to make you some money while also leveling up your account. It's always a good idea to make sure that when you are working on stuff like making money, unless you are maxed, you basically want to be working on your account and progressing that way, because you're going to be making a lot more money when you get to those higher levels than you will be if you just stand and do stuff for 5 mil an hour now, but gain no experience. So I guess what I'm trying to say is always focus on progressing your account, because the further along you get, the more money you're going to make. And if you make maybe 100 mil straight away, but you haven't progressed your account, then you still got to do those levels anyway, and you'll be making 5 mil an hour for ages. Whereas if you have progressed your account, you could be making upwards of 10 mil an hour, purely because your levels are a little bit higher than they would have been if you didn't level them up in the first place. But now, once you've done all that, once you've been playing for quite a while, you've got a well-rounded account, you've got a little bit of money in the bank, and you want to go ahead and progress some of the non-combat skills that are going to help you in PvM, you're going to need your summoning, your herblore, and your prayer as the main ones to level up, and these will help you out so much when you are doing PvM. So when and how do you do this? Now basically, what I'm going to say to you is do your absolute best to get these done during double experience weeks. Now, when the double experience come round, which is about 4 or 5 times a year at the moment, I'm pretty sure it's about that, then you're going to want to spend that time, if you can, doing the stuff that you're going to be having to spend a lot of money on. Summoning, herblore, and prayer are ridiculously expensive, so you're going to want to be as efficient as you can during this and save yourself as much money as you can. Of course, herblore to get overloads, and summoning to get things like your DPS familiars or your yak is going to be super expensive. Now, if you do this in double experience, of course, you're pretty much halving the cost it's going to be. If it's going to cost you, say, 80 mil to get overloads, I don't actually know the current pricing at the moment, but if you say it was going to cost you 80 mil, if you do that on double XP, technically, it's only going to cost you 40 mil. So that's a ridiculous amount of savings, and seeing as this video is basically telling you how to actually get the money for your PvM gear and get into PvM, then you want to focus this on that to save yourself as much money as you can for using that on your gear and all that stuff. You're going to need these levels anyway. There's no point in you going and doing things like God Wars Dungeon 2 bosses or Araxor and all that sort of stuff without these levels. It will help you out so much. You absolutely can do it, but you're going to want these. So make sure you do invest the money in this during double experience and save yourself as much money as you can. Prayer, on the other hand, doesn't usually work. You can't use the altars, which is the best way to level your prayer, but you can do the cleansing crystals in Prif if you do have access to that. And when during double experience there's the hour of Heffin there, you'll get a buff, you'll get 20% extra on that, and you'll also get double experience as well. So if you do have access to Prif during double XP, just keep an eye on that. When it is Heffin, head over and get that done as well. But basically, herblore, prayer, and summoning, try and do these through double experience. Your prayer, you could probably do it anytime really with dragon bones at the gilded altar, or if you've got money, if you seem to have plenty of money, then you could go ahead and use anything higher than dragon bones. But yeah, when you're leveling these skills that do take a lot of money, I would recommend trying to do these during double experience. You'll save yourself a lot of money, which in the long run actually saves yourself a lot of time as well, because one, you're leveling up twice as quick, and two, you don't have to spend as many hours making the money to invest in these skills. Okay, so far, basically you've had Slayer to get yourself your basic gear. Then you've done things like Barrows to get yourself money and gear to go ahead and work towards God Wars Dungeon 1. Once you've done a bit of God Wars Dungeon 1, you're going to be getting some drops to get yourself upgrades to armor and getting yourself some more money once you've got that gear, and then selling the rest off. Once you've done that for a while, and once you've leveled up your things like your herb lore, your summoning and all that sort of stuff, then it's time to start working your way up the PvM ladder. Now, basically you're going to want to start from places like God Wars Dungeon 2. Once you've finished with God Wars 1, it's still going to be good money, so continue going there if you are still enjoying that. God Wars Dungeon 2 will probably be your next step. Doing things like Vindicta and doing things like Hellweir is going to be great for practicing using your mechanics and dealing with all your abilities, all that sort of good stuff. And then work your way up through things like Kalphite King, maybe going with a duo or a trio, and then going to Araxor. Araxor is going to be where you probably start making a ridiculous amount of good money. Araxor is definitely better to do before you start doing things like soloing Nex. But if you can get yourself to Nex, then go there with like a group of people, whether it's 2 or 3, then you can definitely make a good amount of money there as well. But basically, once you get to God Wars 1 and you start getting drops and you've upgraded your gear and you start working through making some money through that and working on your other skills that are going to help you through combat, then it's basically just slow and steady upgrades from there. You're going to upgrade your weapons first, and then you're going to upgrade your armor, and you're going to slowly go through each ladder of the bosses, like I just said. So once you build your way up, you're going to be making more and more money along the way, and that is pretty much it. Like that's it until you hit the end game bosses like Telos and AOD. That's it. That's all you're going to be doing. Now, I highly recommend still doing things just like your farming runs and your Slayer tasks throughout the day if you have time to do them. Your farming runs, you should have time to do them. They're really easy to do. When you get a high level farming, you're going to be making a ridiculous amount of money on herbs. And obviously your Slayer tasks, the further up you get, the higher Slayer level you get, the better you're going to be getting from like loot from these monsters and stuff. It's absolutely brilliant. So keep doing that, because the more money you can bring in, then the faster you can upgrade your gear. And the faster you can upgrade your gear, then the faster you can start moving on to other bosses. But that's pretty much it. I would highly recommend following this sort of path rather than standing at the Grand Exchange and cutting freaking granite for about 20 to 40 hours just to get one gear upgrade, and then at the end of it going, right, I can buy this now, but my combat levels are all still rubbish. I can't even equip the gear that I've bought. I have to go and AFK something somewhere, which is boring. Eventually you're going to burn yourself out of the game, you're going to get fed up with it, and you're probably never going to reach endgame anyway. So what I would recommend doing is playing the game properly. Make sure you focus on Slayer. Make sure you focus on your other skills. Get a well-rounded account. You will definitely appreciate it more once you get there. And in all honesty, you should get there a lot quicker than someone who has just stood processing stuff doing money-making methods, because you've already leveled your stuff, you're making more money per hour at higher levels, and it will all sort of fall into place as you do get there. You may think you're starting off fairly slowly, but I promise you, once you get to those higher levels, it will be absolutely worth it, and you will be exactly where you want to be. Able to go in, do some PvM, start off with your stuff like your God Wars Dungeon 1 armors, and then move up to better stuff like your Nex armors, so your Virtus, Torva and Pernix, and then after you've done that and perked some of that out, then you can look at those tier 90 armors. But of course, there is a really big sort of upgrade list. You're going to want to go basically upgrade your weapons first, and then look at upgrading your prayers or your curses, and then once you've done that, you're going to want to get some perks, and then you want to go back and look at things like your armor and any sort of switches and all that sort of good stuff. That isn't anything really to do with this video. Basically, I was just telling you how to get to the point of PvM. I hope that you've enjoyed. I hope that some of it has made a lot more sense to you, and I hope that you maybe find a more enjoyable path to get into PvM, because PvM in this game is absolutely brilliant. The bosses are incredibly fun, and it's definitely something that you'll find yourself being able to do for hours and hours on end. And yeah, I hope that you do get there, and I hope that this video has helped you out. If it has, then make sure to leave a like on the video. Do subscribe if you are new to the channel, as there'll be a lot more stuff coming like this in the future. And if you have any other questions, any other ideas that maybe could be used in a video, leave them in the comments below, because I will be very interested to hear them. And if there's anything that can help you guys out as well, I'll be more than happy to make a video on that as well. Anyway, as always, thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you all in the next one. See you later, guys. Bye.